Venus Flytrap. This plant is sold at garden centers for less than $10, sits on kitchen windowsills across 40 countries, and can count to 5. It needs to. The trap is expensive to operate, metabolically speaking, so the plant has evolved a mechanism to avoid false triggers. Each leaf has 6 tiny hairs arranged in pairs. When an insect brushes one hair, nothing happens. The plant is counting. When a second hair is touched within roughly 20 seconds, the trap snaps shut. The closure happens in under a second, fast enough to catch flies mid-movement. Once closed, the trap seals tighter over the next 30 minutes, forming an airtight stomach. The plant then secretes digestive enzymes that break down the insect's soft tissues over 5 to 10 days. What remains is an empty exoskeleton. The trap reopens, the shell blows away, and the process starts over. Each trap can do these 3 to 5 times before it dies and is replaced. The Venus flytrap exists naturally in only one place on Earth, a roughly 90-mile radius around Wilmington, North Carolina. Despite being native to such a tiny area, it has become one of the most widely cultivated carnivorous plants in the world. The plant has no brain, no nervous system, and no ability to make decisions. It has been doing this successfully for approximately 65 million years, which at this point feels like a personal statement. Sundews. You've probably walked past these in wetlands without noticing they were covered in what looks like morning dew, but is actually insect glue. The droplets are mucilage secreted by hundreds of tiny stalked glands covering each leaf. An insect lands, expecting moisture. It gets stuck immediately. The mucilage is adhesive enough to trap wasps, beetles, and even small moths. The insect struggles, which triggers more glands to activate and produce more glue. Meanwhile, the leaf tentacles slowly curl inward, folding the prey toward the center of the leaf where the digestive glands are concentrated. This can take anywhere from a few minutes to several hours, depending on the size of the prey. Once the insect is positioned, the plant secretes enzymes that dissolve the soft tissue. Digestion takes several days. The plant absorbs the nitrogen, phosphorus, and other nutrients directly through the leaf surface. There are roughly 200 species of sundews distributed across every continent except Antarctica. Some species can live for up to 50 years in the wild, repeatedly trapping and digesting prey throughout their entire lifespan. When the process is complete, the leaf uncurls, and what's left of the insect, mostly the exoskeleton, is blown or washed away. The plant looks delicate. It's not. It's running a suffocation operation in broad daylight, and it's been refining this method for over 50 million years. Tropical pitcher. Some species of this plant produce pitchers large enough to drown a rat, and they have. The largest pitcher plants, particularly Nepenthes species from Southeast Asia, can hold over 2 liters of digestive fluid. The trap is a modified leaf that forms a deep, slippery tube. The rim is coated with nectar to attract insects, small mammals, and occasionally amphibians. The nectar also makes the rim slick. When prey steps on it to feed, they slip and fall into the pool below. The inside walls of the pitcher are lined with downward-pointing waxy scales that make climbing out nearly impossible. What's waiting at the bottom is not just water. It's a highly acidic mixture of digestive enzymes and, in many species, symbiotic bacteria that assist in breaking down tissue. Drowning happens first. Digestion follows over the next week or two, depending on the size of the prey. Larger items like frogs or rodents can take significantly longer. The plant absorbs nutrients through specialized cells in the pitcher walls. The genus Nepenthes includes over 170 species, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth except specific mountain ranges in Borneo, Sumatra, and the Philippines. Some pitcher plants have evolved relationships with tree shrews and rats, which defecate into the pitchers in exchange for nectar, providing the plant with nitrogen-rich fertilizer without needing to kill anything. It's not a passive container. The fluid is actively maintained, the pH is regulated, and the enzymes are continuously secreted. This is, by all biological definitions, a stomach. It just happens to be attached to a plant that has no brain and no ability to move. The plant has been running what is functionally the world's worst hotel for millions of years, and business has been consistent. Bladderwort. This plant operates the fastest trap in the entire plant kingdom, and has been doing it since before most flowering plants existed. It's aquatic, rootless, and covered in tiny bladder-shaped traps that work on suction. Each bladder is roughly the size of a pinhead. The trap is set by pumping water out of the bladder, creating negative pressure inside. When a small aquatic organism, typically a water flea or mosquito larva, brushes against the trigger hairs near the bladder's door, the trap fires. The door swings open, water rushes in, and the prey is sucked inside in approximately 1/500th of a second. That's faster than a human can blink, faster than most high-speed cameras can capture without specialized equipment. Once inside, the door reseals and digestive enzymes are secreted into the bladder. The prey is broken down over the next few hours to days, and the nutrients are absorbed. Then the bladder pumps the water back out, resets the pressure, and waits. The plant has no roots because it doesn't need them. It gets all its nutrients from what it catches. Bladderworts are found on every continent except Antarctica, with over 220 species identified so far. A single bladderwort plant can have hundreds of bladders, and each bladder can reset and fire multiple times per day if prey is abundant. It has no brain, no nerves, and no muscles. It's simply built a vacuum system that works faster than most predators with actual nervous systems. It's been doing this for roughly 45 million years and shows no interest in slowing down. Butterwort. This plant is used as a natural fly trap in Scandinavian homes and has been for centuries. It looks harmless. The leaves are soft, fleshy, and bright green, often mistaken for decorative ground cover. They are not decorative. They are covered in two types of glands. The first type secretes mucilage, a sticky substance that traps insects on contact. The second type secretes enzymes. When a small fly or gnat lands on the leaf, it sticks immediately. The insect struggles, which triggers the leaf edges to curl inward slightly, pressing the prey closer to the enzyme-secreting glands. Then the plant does something unusual. It releases two separate enzymes. The first breaks down the insect's structural proteins. The second breaks down its cells and tissues. This is biochemical overkill. Most carnivorous plants use one enzyme system. Butterworts use two, which allows them to digest prey more thoroughly and extract more nutrients. The digestion process takes 3 to 5 days. When it's done, the leaf flattens back out and the remaining exoskeleton is discarded. There are roughly 80 species of butterwort distributed across the Northern Hemisphere, Central America, and parts of South America. In traditional Scandinavian and Sami cultures, butterwort leaves were placed in milk to curdle it for cheese making, though nobody realized at the time they were using digestive enzymes meant for insects. The plant has no brain, no ability to sense pain, and no concept of what it's doing. It just committed to a two-enzyme system at some point in evolutionary history and decided that was the standard. It works. By the way, if you're enjoying learning about these plants, I post content like this regularly. I'd appreciate if you subscribed. Thanks, Cobra Lily. This plant doesn't just trap insects, it confuses them until they're too exhausted to escape. The Cobra Lily, native to cold mountain streams in California and Oregon, grows a hooded structure that looks like a rearing snake. The structure is not decorative, it's a trap. Insects are attracted to nectar glands near the opening of the hood. Once inside, they encounter a problem. The interior of the hood has translucent patches that look like exits. They are not exits. They are false windows designed to confuse prey. Insects fly toward the light, hit the wall, and try again. Meanwhile, the actual exit, the small opening they entered through, is in shadow and easy to miss. The insect becomes disoriented, exhausted, and eventually falls down the tubular stem into a pool of digestive enzymes at the base. Downward pointing hairs line the tube, making it nearly impossible to climb back out. The plant doesn't need speed. It doesn't need glue. It uses architecture. It built a labyrinth with no correct exit, and insects die of exhaustion before they realize the design was intentional. Digestion at the base takes roughly 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the size of the prey. The plant absorbs the nutrients through the walls of the tube. The Cobra Lily is the only species in its genus, and grows exclusively in nutrient-poor bogs and seeps where the water is cold and oxygen-rich. It can tolerate water temperatures near freezing, conditions that would kill most other carnivorous plants. It grows in wetlands near hiking trails, which means people walk past it regularly without realizing they're looking at psychological warfare in botanical form. Waterwheel Plant. This is one of only 2 snaptrap plants on Earth, and it's been doing this underwater for millions of years. The Waterwheel Plant is aquatic, free-floating, and closely related to the Venus flytrap. Instead of growing in soil, it drifts through ponds, lakes, and slow-moving streams. Each stem has small hinged traps arranged in whorls, resembling a water wheel. When a tiny aquatic organism, usually a water flea or larvae, brushes against the trigger hairs inside the trap, the 2 lobes snap shut in roughly 10 to 20 milliseconds. Underwater. The trap seals, forming a small chamber where digestive enzymes are secreted. The prey is broken down over several days, and the nutrients are absorbed directly through the trap's inner surfaces. Once digestion is complete, the trap reopens and resets. The plant has no roots. It has no permanent location. It simply drifts and waits. The waterwheel plant can survive completely submerged or partially floating, depending on water depth and light availability. Unlike most carnivorous plants that require specific soil chemistry, this plant has no contact with soil at all, and obtains every nutrient it needs from captured prey or dissolved minerals in the water. It's critically endangered in most of its native range across Europe, Africa, and Asia, largely due to habitat destruction. It's still out there though, snapping shut on microscopic prey in the same way it has for millions of years. No brain, no central nervous system. Just a plant that decided building underwater snap traps was a reasonable survival strategy, and evolution apparently agreed. Corkscrew Plant. This plant builds traps that only work in one direction, and that direction is toward digestion. The corkscrew plant is a small aquatic carnivore native to Australia. It grows submerged in shallow, nutrient-poor wetlands. The trap is a narrow tube lined with inward-pointing hairs arranged in a corkscrew spiral. When a small aquatic invertebrate enters the tube, usually while searching for food or shelter, the hairs allow it to move inward easily. Trying to back out is a different story. The hairs are stiff and angled in a way that blocks reverse movement entirely. The prey is forced deeper into the tube with each attempt to escape. At the end of the tube is a chamber where digestive enzymes are secreted. The animal is trapped, digested, and absorbed over the course of several days to a week. The plant doesn't need to snap shut. It doesn't need glue. It built a one-way system that functions like airport security for insects, except there's no exit gate, and the terminal is a stomach. The hairs reset naturally after digestion is complete, and the trap is ready to catch again. There are 4 known species of corkscrew plants, all endemic to Australia, and all operating on the same basic trap design. The plants are so small that individual traps are often less than a centimeter long, yet they're efficient enough to sustain the plant entirely on captured prey. It's been operating this way for millions of years, entirely without input, oversight, or any form of conscious decision-making. Albany Pitcher. This plant exists in one small region of Australia and nowhere else on Earth. The Albany Pitcher plant, native to Southwest Australia, is critically endangered. There are fewer than 50 known populations left in the wild. It's also still actively killing. The trap is a tubular pitcher with a hinged lid that doesn't close. The lid serves to keep rain from diluting the digestive fluid inside. The plant produces nectar along the rim and down the outside of the pitcher. Insects follow the trail, feeding as they go until they reach the opening. The interior walls are coated with a waxy, downward-pointing layer that provides no grip. Insects slip, fall into the enzyme pool below, and drown. Digestion takes 1 to 2 weeks depending on prey size. The plant absorbs nutrients through specialized cells lining the pitcher. What makes this species particularly efficient is the bait system. The nectar trail is essentially honest advertising. It leads directly to death, but the insects don't know that until it's too late. The Albany pitcher can produce pitchers up to 50 centimeters tall, making it one of the largest pitcher plants outside the tropical genus Nepenthes. Each plant can have dozens of active pitchers at once, functioning as a distributed network of traps. The plant has no ability to move, no nervous system, and no awareness that it's critically endangered. It's simply continuing to do what it's done for millions of years, which is lure prey with sugar and dissolve them in acid. That strategy has not changed. Nepenthes Rajah. This is the largest carnivorous plant on Earth, and it has digested rats, shrews, and small vertebrates. Nepenthes Rajah, native to the mountains of Borneo, produces pitchers that can hold 3.5 liters of digestive fluid. That's roughly the size of a large cooking pot. The pitchers grow on climbing vines and dangle at various heights, some low enough to intercept ground-dwelling mammals. The rim is coated with nectar that attracts not just insects, but also small rodents looking for an easy meal. The rim is also extremely slippery when wet. Animals lean in to feed, lose their footing, and fall into the pool below. Drowning happens first. Digestion follows and takes weeks. The fluid inside is acidic, enzyme-rich, and teeming with symbiotic bacteria that help break down tougher tissues like fur, bone, and cartilage. The plant absorbs nitrogen, phosphorus, and trace minerals through the walls of the pitcher as the prey decomposes. What's left after digestion is mostly skeletal fragments. The plant does not target vertebrates specifically. It's simply built a trap large enough that vertebrates occasionally fall in, and the system works well enough to digest them. Nepenthes Rajah grows only on the slopes of Mount Kinabalu and neighboring peaks in Borneo, at elevations between 1,500 and 2,600 meters. The species is so rare and slow growing that individual plants can take years to produce their first full-sized pitcher. This is not a bug. This is not an accident. This is a plant that scaled up its carnivorous strategy to the point where it can process animals that most people would consider too large for a plant to handle. It has no brain, no plan, and no apparent concern for how this looks. It has been doing this for millions of years in one of the most remote forests on the planet, which makes everything else on this list seem almost reasonable by comparison. If this changed how you think about plants, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.